Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Grid Vision's coverage of the SSRL Truck Series live from the virtual Richmond Raceway in beautiful Richmond, Virginia, as we bring you coverage here tonight to see some action-packed under-the-lights racing. Hello, everyone. I'm Taylor Burris. Joining with me is Nick Stein with our producer, the great Austin Derbyshire. We're getting ready to go 150 laps around here. Nick, a track that has had its ups and downs over the years of racing, but is by certainly one of the toughest racetracks on oval racings on the iRacing service. Tell us a little bit more about Richmond Raceway.
Well, Richmond Raceway, it's your typical short track, a lot of tight racing, a lot of side-by-side action, and it's going to be tough on these drivers. It's, as you said, one of the toughest tracks when it comes to short track racing. It's definitely, it's a bumpy one, it's tight, it's fast, it's everything you would want out of a short track, but just a typical short track, basically.
It really is, and these drivers are going to have to go 150 laps. A lot of things to keep in mind. Take a look at the weather. It's a nice, warm 82 degrees with winds at 7 miles an hour, partly cloudy skies. So it's going to be a little bit warm for the drivers, a little bit of heat in the tires. We'll see how that tapers off as the run goes on. So we'll keep track of the drivers here as they work their way through these 150 laps. A little bit of strategies will come into play as far as tire situations and fuel as the field gets ready to go. And we'll take a look at, of course, the schedules that are happening here this season at the SSRL Truck Series. Of course, if we take a look, we had some great racing earlier in the week with the Champions Power Equipment Truck Series and the Grid Vision Super Speedway. Of course, tomorrow night, the NASCAR iRacing Series heads to Sin City at Las Vegas. And then, of course, our Sunday doubleheader with the Global Racing Truck League and, of course, RGR Racing at Las Vegas as well. So you'll have a lot of time to maybe see if you can get lucky at Las Vegas this week. And as we see the action continue here all on Grid Vision. We do apologize, of course, for last week's situation. We had some technical difficulties for the SSRL Truck Series, so hopefully we got everything fixed. We're ready to go. Of course, we can bring you all the action here tonight. Drivers are having their quick drivers meeting. A lot of things to touch on as we get ready for this season. Keep an eye on some of the top drivers who are working their way through. Point standing, of course, is going to be incredible to see how that will play out. Of course, the last time out, after just 2 races, Raymond Root is your points leader over Jacob Schneider. Tanner Marty is in 3rd. Blair Holloman is tied for 4th with Kendall Laverne, and Mike Burnett is 6th position. So a little bit of movers and shakers in the championship. A lot of things to keep an eye on as we see here. Nick, we saw the last time out, of course, a lot of things happen at Charlotte. And as we'll see for the rest of the season, what could we expect from some drivers this early on of how they could go about trying to rebound if they're towards the back half, and drivers who just need to stay consistent through the rest of the season?
Well, as you said, at Charlotte, we saw a ton of tight racing. Saw a few wrecks as well. That's going to be something to keep an eye on tonight. These guys, they know how to race. They know how to race each other as hard and as clean as possible. Sometimes wreck happens, so that's going to be something they're going to have to keep an eye on. If they need to rebound, they just need to have a clean, consistent race tonight. One driver that comes to mind, Brandon Edstrom, he was upside down at Daytona, and he ended up wrecked a couple times at Charlotte, so he's looking for a bounce-back race tonight, just trying to finish a race and get some points. And if you're up near the front, then it's business as usual. Just got to keep it clean, keep it consistent, and hope for the best tonight.
Certainly is. Of course, this is round 3 of a 12-week championship. Of course, the next race will be at the Talladega Super Speedway, Kansas, Kentucky, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, Bristol, off week for the Thanksgiving holiday, of course, Chicagoland, Phoenix, Rockingham, and the season finale on December 21st, just before Christmas, at Michigan. So a lot of unique tracks, a lot of tracks that will test the limits of each and every single one of these drivers in this running. And of course, we'll see all of it here on Grid Vision. Waiting for the field to finish up here as they are finishing up their drivers meeting and warm up. A couple of things to point on here during the practice session. Fastest driver on the track during practice was Keith Hackney, setting a time of actually Brandon Edstrom and Keith Hackney were up towards the front of the field. 21.847 for Brandon Edstrom in the number 74 from Springfield, Vermont. as he's going to pilot the 74 Ford F-150 around the circuit here. Keep an eye on him. Of course, Philip Henry also set a fast time in practice with a 21.852 in the number 25 machine, and we'll see how this will play out. We'll give you your full field rundown for qualifying momentarily once they wrap up warm-ups here. As they work their way around the circuit to get ready to go racing. Nick, we have to go to you. Who are the ones you pointed out, Brandon, as one? Who are some drivers who could maybe be that quiet one that works their way up and plans out their strategy well enough to take home the checker flag?
Well, tonight you definitely got to take a look at the 7 truck of Raymond Root. Starting 13th tonight, did not set a qualifying time. He will be looking to come through the field. Another one I'm looking at is Philip Henry. We've seen him up front a ton this season. He was up front all night at Daytona. He was up near the front at Charlotte before getting involved in a couple of wrecks as well. He'll be one to watch coming through the field, and a couple other names throughout the field. Dave Fuge, he's definitely quick. Look for him. Kendall Leverin, he's really, really quick as well. Of course, you got to take a look at the Hogue brothers. They are 2 of the faster guys on the field tonight. And, I mean, you said Brandon Edstrom. Keith Hackney's up there as well. Just a ton of talent within this field, and all of them are going to be vying for one final position tonight.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and get started with your starting lineup presented by Admin Box. And Keith Hackney from NLR will be on the pole with a 21.910. Brendan Edstrom from Prodigy Esports will be in second place with Rat Pack Racing's Blair Holloman in third position. Keith Zoysk is going to be starting in P4 with David Duke in R&D Motorsports in the fifth position. California's own Tom Hyo and Bob Hyo will be in sixth position and seventh, with Kendall Leveron in eighth position with the Hammerdown Motorsports team. In ninth is Mike Burnett from the Backroads Bandit Racing Team, and David Fuge Jr. with 1110 Mods rounds out your top 10.
Starting in 11th tonight is going to be Brandon Browning with Craig Bridge starting in 12th. 13th position is going to belong to RJ Root, your championship leader. He's going to be from Prodigy Esports as well within that camp. Starting in 14th, Philip Henry, another one to keep an eye on tonight. He's going to be really quick with Rob Yost Jr. starting in 15th. Bobby Forbes is going to round out the field tonight. He's going to be starting 16th at the tail end of the longest line.
He'll be riding shotgun in the field here as the field works their way around Benny the pace car driver. They'll get, I believe, 2 laps before we go green flag racing here tonight. We're happy to have you with us here on Grid Vision. Don't forget to like, follow, and if you like to see more opportunities of broadcasting in your league, make sure to visit us at Grid Vision on all social media platforms. We have great rates and openings for any dates here, as you saw on the schedule earlier. As they work their way down towards out of turn number 4, one more time around. As we watch the field get themselves lined up. This is the moment early in the season, Nick. A lot of things happening. Drivers trying to relocate themselves up in the standings, get a little bit of better runs here. And of course, this track, one of the first short tracks of the season that these drivers will face, is going to be a little bit about patience, a little bit about aggression, and knowing where to place your truck before it is done here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be about the time where these drivers are going to want to start settling in for the long run, as you said. You had the first 2 races to get all the kinks worked out and get all the mistakes out of the way. Well, those 2 races are up, and it's time to start settling down a little bit. You really need to start working on getting some good finishes, and that is on the top of these drivers' minds tonight, just trying to survive, trying to get to the end of this, and hopefully come out with the win here tonight.
Benny the pace car driver makes the hard left turn down on pit road. Barney the green flag has the green flag in hand, and we are racing here at Richmond. Drivers already having some issues here as a little beating and banging are happening towards the back half of the field, but everyone makes it through out of turn number 1 down the back straightaway, single file pretty much for your top 7 as drivers try to negotiate around the circuit side by side a little further back between the 19 and the 95 of the 2 brothers as trouble has a little more contact happens.
Bob Hogue, he's going to go into the corner. He's going to give the bumper to the 39. 39 saves it. That was Mike Burnett in the 39 machine. They keep it all straight, but they're still going. That's going to lead to a little bit of a side eye from race control there for the 19 of Bob Hogue. Man, that
was close right there. But great driving right there by Mike Burnett as we get a look at the replay here. Bob Hogue tries to send it in there, and we heard overrated communications of someone was not too happy. As you see a little bit of contact right there off of turn 4. Hogue got a little bit loose, entering, coming off, and then boom, contact up the hill. We see Mike Burnett go. He'll lose a little bit of time, but not too much. He's actually gaining back on Bobby Forbes in the 15th position.
Looking further back in the field, Brandon Browning and Philip Henry, those are two drivers that we said were going to be very, very quick tonight. They were side by side in turn one. Philip Henry already moving up through the field. He's up to 12th position now, just past Brandon Browning for 11th. So he's coming up through the field. Another driver coming up is Raymond Root. He's up into 9th position. Two drivers that are moving and are on the move, and we'll have to keep an eye on them. Still single file out throughout the rest of the field, though, as Brandon Edstrom just trying to chase down Keith Hackney right now.
Yeah, right now it's still no change. Hackney has about a half a second advantage over Edstrom. Hulliman is in third position, 1 second behind as we ride on board with the 74 of Edstrom as he's trying to keep up pace with your race leader of Keith Hackney as they head down the back straightaway, heading off into turn 3 and 4. Everyone just minding their P's and Q's. About car length to 2 car lengths separate each driver of those inside the top 10 right now. So everyone found their rhythm. Now just wanting to hit their marks and try to make it a little further back. You see some battling for position right there. You saw the path of the 25 machine of Philip Henry breaking into the top 10.
Yeah, that's going to be something we're going to be watching all night. These guys are going to just kind of take it chill pill here, as the first stage is not until 75 laps into this race. That is the exact halfway mark, so these guys are just trying to ride a little bit and save their tires and kind of settle in for the long run here. 75 laps, it may not seem very long, but it'll go very, very quick here at Richmond Raceway.
It really will, especially with how well they're running right now. Just making sure they log laps, get to that halfway point, see about making some adjustments if need be, and of course coming down to get some fresh Goodyear Eagles on their trucks and continue on racing here. Keeping an eye on some of the drivers who are running some fast lap times right now. David Duke set the fastest lap inside the top 5 by the looks of it with a 22.290, so he's definitely showing some speed here early on, but gotta keep up that momentum as we watch Edstrom picking up the pace a little bit. He's now cut it down to just under 0.4 of a second as we watch this battle for the race lead between your top 4.
Keith Hackney does seem to be falling off a little bit. We saw this last week at Charlotte. He was really, really quick for about the first 15 laps of the run, and then he started to fall back through the field. That seems to be what we're seeing tonight. Pulls out a little bit of a lead on the 74, Brandon Edstrom, and now Edstrom starting to reel him back in here. We'll have to see if Brandon Edstrom decides to ride behind the 9 machine or if he tries to make a pass and lead some laps here. But for now, Keith Hackney still leading, though that gap is closing very, very quickly.
Yeah, in fact, there you see your top 4 all on screen. Even throw in the 5th position driver of Kevin Zuyovsk, who is right there in the 37. He's trying to close in. He's still quite a ways back, about 2 seconds from your race leader, 1 second behind David Duke. So he's starting to pick up the pace a little bit as the field works their way around out of turn number 3 or turns 1 and 2 down the back straightaway.
Yeah, you'll see these drivers, you'll see them get up really close to the wall, and you may see a puff of smoke on the stream, but they are not hitting the wall. These guys are trying to get as close to the wall as they can, using all the track that they are given, and for whatever reason within the replay, it shows that they're hitting the wall, but they are not actually hitting the wall. So if you see that smoke pop up, just know they didn't hit anything. They're just trying to use all that track. We'll get an onboard view here. This is the 19 of Bob Hogue. Not using as much track as some others, but he's definitely still using everything that he can. See it really well coming off the corner. Not even 6 inches separating his car and the wall there. That's something we're going to see a lot of drivers doing tonight.
Well, one thing we have to talk about here at Richmond, Nick, is turn off of turn 2 is one of the most difficult sections because it's so easy to get loose, or if that truck is a little too tight, you can easily just bounce off that wall and hit it off corner exit here as we ride on board with the Caterpillar machine as he works his way around. That's the 28 of Kendall Leverin, who is now holding on, battling with Bob Hogue for that 7th spot. Really side-by-side battle for position. And it's going to be a drag race heading down into turns 3 and 4.
Kendall Leverin's going to clear him going into turn 3, and that puts Kendall Leverin up into 7th position. But he's also got Raymond Root right behind him, attempting to get past Bob Hogue. RJ, your championship leader, trying everything he can to make up a few positions and build his advantage, was right behind him. Philip Henry getting a little bit loose coming off of 2. Exactly what you were talking about earlier. just getting a little bit loose off the corner can really hurt your race car.
It really can, as we watch here and continuing to see how this will play out. A couple of drivers may start running that top side, such as the 25 of Philip Henry, who's now trying to go up about half a lane higher than the rest of the field. As we see now, the 7 of Raymond Root looks down to the inside of Bob Hogue, and he's going to try to clear him off turn 4. Not going to work this time. He's going to drag race him across the start-finish line. Hogue has the position, but now we see the inside lane advantage coming in for Raymond Root. He'll send it on in through the middle of turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, this is something we're going to see all night. It is very difficult to pass at Richmond. One of the more difficult tracks to pass out when it comes to NASCAR. And RJ made it look quite easy there, but just know that passes can get a lot more difficult. Looking right behind him, we're already starting to see it. The run you can get off the bottom is a lot better than what you would expect compared to the top line. But for right now, just side by side here, but the 25 of Philip Henry is going to clear the 19 of Bob Hogue, and now Philip Henry is going to set his sights on the 7 truck of Raymond Root and see where he can get it.
Well, one thing these drivers have to be careful with is how much they've already fallen off, and we've only completed 20 laps. Your race leader, he's 0.8 off his best lap time. For Brandon Edstrom, he's 0.9 of a second off. These drivers are almost a full second off, and it's going to be critical here as we take a look at some of the fast times out on the track. 22 flat, pretty much, for Hackney. Edstrom right there with a 22.01, so it just shows how closely competitive the field is, but also how quickly the fall-off is, as 22.8 was the last laps for some of your drivers inside the top 3.
Yeah, Richmond Raceway is known for its fall off with the tires. It is known to be a tire-eating short track, and that's kind of rare. You really don't see tire fall off this bad when it comes to short tracks. You think of Martinsville, the fall off only really being, give or take, about 6 or 7 tenths of a second. Bristol's another one that has some pretty bad fall off, but I'm going to sit here and say that Richmond has the worst fall off out of the 3 short tracks NASCAR visits every year, and it's not a light accusation, because these tires, they're going to be sitting in the high 60s, maybe low 70s by the end of this run. So these guys are really going to have to learn how to manage that stuff, and that's something we're going to see all throughout the race, is these guys figuring out how to manage these tires. That's the 9 car of Bobby Forbes, or excuse me, the 5 car of Bobby Forbes on pit road already.
Very early on pit road, as we'll take a look and see what happened to Bobby. As coming into the middle of turns 1 and 2, does he go down? No, he just comes down pit road, stops below the racing line. So, possible problem maybe for Bobby Forbes. We'll have to wait and see and find out as he gets himself situated, and hopefully will return to the racing track momentarily.
Looks like this battle for the lead right here, this is going to be our closest battle on the track so far. These guys have stayed within a couple of tenths of each other throughout the majority of the race. Brandon Edstrom really hasn't fallen back further than a half second off of Keith Hackney. And right now, the gap's sitting at 3.5 tenths of a second, down to 2.5 tenths of a second here. And this is something I've been watching very closely. These guys have just been fluctuating between about 2 tenths and 4 tenths, and it hasn't separated by very much. So these two are definitely the cream of the crop so far.
They really are the cream of the crop at this moment. They are showing incredible pace throughout the field as we watch them work their way around the circuit.
As Brandon Edstrom, he's going to get up to the rear bumper of the 9 of Keith Hackney, trying everything in his power to try and make a move on the 9 truck. Makes a look to the inside. He shows the nose to Keith Hackney. Side by side for the lead here. Keith Hackney on the top, Brandon Edstrom on the bottom. That outside line is going to get the run off the corner, but Brandon Edstrom, he's going to tuck back in, and he's going to send a dive bomb. Keith Hackney sends it in deeper, but for right now, Brandon Edstrom still in second place.
He is really trying to work it through and keep on racing here as Edstrom's closing the gap very quickly. Will he try a move to the outside? Not quite yet. We're going to see Hackney go up a track a little bit and try to prevent the run, as now here comes Edstrom with a big run down to the inside of the racetrack. He'll send it side by side, battle for the race lead as they wash up the track a little bit. You have to be careful with that as they'll drag race. Hackney still holds on to the race lead.
A little bit of door banging off of turn 4 there between the two. They keep it clean though. Brandon Edstrom and Keith Hackney still even through turns 1 and 2. Keith Hackney's going to get the run coming off of turn 2. Brandon Edstrom staying even with him though. Heading down into turn 3. Keith Hackney gets deeper on the brakes, but Brandon Edstrom gets through the entry better. Not quite clear the 9 truck just yet. Brandon Edstrom is your new leader, but there is still a battle for the lead here.
Still is going to be an ongoing battle as Edstrom tries it. Now clears him off of turn number 2. New race leader, 30 laps in. It is Brandon Edstrom.
As I said earlier, this is exactly what we saw earlier, or in the last race, excuse me. Keith Hackney, he was really quick to start the run, but started to fall off as the tires started to wear and started to get some heat in them. That seems to be what's happening. Brandon Edstrom closed him in from about a half second and now is in front of him. But now the next car behind the 9 truck of Keith Hackney is going to be the 10 of Blair Holloman. He's closing in quite quickly too. He's been on similar pace as your 2 leaders, and he's looking to get up into second place.
They are working their way through. It's going to be exciting to see how this will play out for your drivers as they work their way around the circuit, heading off into the middle of turns 1 and 2 as we go a little further back to Holloman, who is now coming into the play. He's going to get a good run.
Yeah, Blair Holloman, he was 2/10 faster than Keith Hackney there, so definitely showing some fall off for that 9 machine. Love to see how that plays as we get later and later into this stage, but the time is ticking for the 9 car of Keith Hackney, or excuse me, the 9 truck of Keith Hackney. Will he come down early in pit, or is he going to be in this for the long haul? 75 laps to the stage. I'm not 100% sure what the fuel limitations are, but I do not think they can make it to the stage.
No, they cannot. It's going to be a little bit tight right now. They've already ran about 30 laps, over 30 laps here. They could stretch it to maybe about 50 to 60, and we'll see if that plays out for these drivers here, if they could stretch it a little further, but I don't think that's going to be the case looking over the timing.
I tell you what, though, Brandon Edstrom is loving what he's seeing right now. He's seeing that 9 truck getting smaller and smaller in his mirror, and he's definitely seeing that 10 truck of Blair Holloman looking to get around the 9. And if they get side by side, that's really going to help the 74 try to build his lead here. The gap is sitting at 0.8 of a second as of the last timing line, and that gap is only growing right now. It's just shrinking a little bit as Keith Hackney seems to be pushing a little bit harder, trying to stay in front of Blair Holloman.
He's going to try his best, but here comes Holloman with a big run as they work their way over to turns 1 and 2. And Holloman's going to look to the inside. He's going to try to send it in deep and see if he can make the pass work. Not able to do so here, but he gets a good run off of turn number 2 and now looks to the inside. He now makes his way through turn 3, clears him almost out of turn number 4, and can now move up into P2.
Yeah, but here comes Keith Hackney. He's coming back on that outside line, but it's just going to be no match for the how good the 10's tires are. Blair Holloman up into P2, and he made that pass look a lot easier than Brandon Edstrom did. Time differences, though, Brandon Edstrom's still about a 0.5 of a lap faster than Blair Holloman, so looks like Brandon Edstrom's going to continue to build this gap and just continue to run laps and get closer and closer to the stage.
He's going to try his best here, and a great runs right now for Holloman. He is certainly looking like he could showcase some speed and keep up maybe with Brandon Edstrom.
Looking back now, we just saw RJ Root making a pass on Kevin Zosiak in the 37 machine. RJ Root making his way up further. Remember, he did not set a time in qualifying. He started 13th position in this race, so he's having to come through the field. That is going to harm his tires over this run, but it really doesn't seem to be hurting him that much as he's now up into 6th position with his eyes on David Duke.
David Duke going to try to see what he can do here. He's got a good run, but he's got a little bit of work to do as he's now stuck in this gaggle of trucks here. You got about 4 to 5 trucks right here battling for the 5th spot here as they work their way off of turn number 4. It's going to be a fun battle to watch as they work their way off into turn 1.
Yeah, this is where our Hornet's Nest is. This is where all the action is, but Brandon Edstrom still pulling that gap. The gap is 1.2 seconds right now as of the last timing loop, and it seems to be growing even more. See what it is here at the next timing loop, but Brandon Edstrom just pulling that gap. Looking ahead of Kevin Zosiak here at RJ Root's rear end, and just looks like everyone seems to be riding right now, trying to, as I said earlier, just trying to make it through the run, clock some laps. 41 laps on these tires. These guys are definitely starting to feel that tire wear.
They have already fallen off over a second and a half compared to their opening laps here, so they are really struggling for grip for the moment. They got a lot of things that they have to play into consideration in order if they want to make it to that opening stage, and have a lot of work to do for any adjustments. That way they can make it pretty much to the end of the race.
Yeah, they should be able to do a pretty good chunk of the stage 2, as we're going to see RJ Root make a move to the inside of the 78 of David Duke. RJ Root got a nose on the 78, and it looks like that's going to be P5 for RJ Root. David Duke trying to come back on the outside, but RJ Root will clear him going into turn 1.
He's going to complete the pass and move on up into the position into the top 5 for the first time for Raymond Root, as looks like Rob Yost Jr. coming off a pit road after having to come his way through and serve. See what happens there for him, as he will rejoin a 2 laps down for the moment, as already Craig Bridge also a lap down.
Yeah, that's where this is going to be the start of the green flag pit cycles here, and it's a game of when do you want to pit, because as we saw right there, you're going to lose 2 laps if you pit under green to the leaders. So it's all about playing the game of trying to lose as little time as possible. So looking at Brandon Edstrom here, he's still running on these tires, so looking like the fuel window may be between about 42 and 52 laps. We'll have to see if that's any truth at all, but these guys are definitely starting to think about pit stops here.
They certainly are starting to think about pit stops here, and that's going to be critical for seeing who is going to be able to come out on top with this as they work their way around the circuit, just closing in on about 30-some laps to go before the end of stage 1.
Yeah, stage 1 again at the end, or at the halfway point of this race, which will be lap 75. Oh, wow. Keith Hackney just disconnected from the session.
Oh.
Yeah, I just watched the multi-4. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Very weird situation.
Yeah, showing he manually disconnected, so Keith Hackney looks like he will not be continuing tonight. Further back here, we got Kevin Zosiak and David Duke side by side. Kevin Zosiak sends it into the corner, and he is going to clear the 78 machine of David Duke, but David Duke looks like he's trying to come back here. We'll have to see if this battle continues on, but for now, Kevin Zosiak is up into P5.
You never know what to expect in motor racing, even in the sim racing world, as we just had this situation where one of our front runners calls it a night, unfortunately. So that will join Bobby Forbes, who is also out of the race.
Just an unfortunate end to the night for those guys, but that's what happens. It's a game of attrition at a short track, and those guys have disconnected early, so that's going to hurt their point standings. But for now, we focus on the rest of the race, as we see RJ Root trying to chase the 28 of Kendall Levering down. Kendall Levering gets a little bit deep into the corner. That's going to allow RJ Root to get to the inside, crossing the finish line, heading down into turn 1. RJ Root going to get hard on the brakes, and he is going to clear the 28 of Kendall Levering, put RJ Root up into P3.
Great run right here for RJ Root, as he is really having a good run this half of the race here. Keep an eye and see what he can do. Can he hunt down maybe your top 2? And he's making up some incredible time. He's actually a 10th faster than your race leader last time by, and still just about a 10th faster last time as well.
Gap for RJ Root compared to Brandon Edstrom is 3.1 seconds. RJ Root's definitely wheeling it right now. Gap under 3 seconds for just a moment. Peeking back over 3 seconds right now as RJ Root trying everything he can to get up to the 10 car at Blair Holloman. We'll have to see if pit stops may be coming up soon. We were talking about it a little bit earlier as we saw a couple people coming down pit road. That's another truck down pit road. Who was that?
Tom
Hogue.
Hogue.
Tom Hogue is down pit road. It was Dave Fuge who came down pit road that we saw coming off of pit road there, but definitely looks like green flag pit stops are in order right now.
And continuously, things are changing here in this race as we see drivers making their pit stops. David Duke in the 78 coming down pit road in the Flavor Bombs and Rub machine. So we'll see what will happen with Edstrom.
No movement from your top 4, give or take. No one deciding. We're going to see who bites the bullet first. I think these guys are waiting for Brandon Edstrom to start this pit cycle for your top 5. But the gap is closing at the top. RJ Root within 3 seconds here, but it looks like the pace is starting to even out for each of your top three. If you take a look at Dave Fuge here, you just see the difference in fresh tires compared to 55 lap old tires. Dave Fuge was about a second behind RJ, and now he's almost a second in front of him. That is a stark difference in tires.
Very stark difference, and we're going to see how this will happen here. And of course, our leaders are trying to get through. 20 laps to go left in stage number 1. Drivers are now trying to just continuously negotiate through traffic, try to figure out certain things, as currently your top 8 are still on the lead lap. Mike Burnett, who's made a major comeback after being pretty much sent all the way to 16th, has picked up 8 spots before this stage is coming to an end, as Philip Henry in the 25 comes down pit road.
Yeah, he's the first one on the lead lap right now to come down pit road. We're still waiting to see when these other guys decide to bite. For now, Brandon Edstrom stays out another lap. So does Blair Holloman and Kendall Leverin as well. RJ Root also staying out. For right now, we're going to see Dave Fuge. Man, just look at the difference right here. I bet Brandon Edstrom sitting in that car thinking, man, fresh tires sound nice right now.
It certainly seems to be the case here, and these drivers are certainly enjoying it, and those who do have fresh tires, because looking at their times, they have really picked up the pace. David Fuge Jr., 22.6 compared to your leader. He's over a second faster than Brandon Edstrom.
Yeah, it's going to be a game of how long do you keep it out. The overcut, despite popular belief, the overcut is actually quite powerful at Richmond, but you really only want to stay out at about 10 or 15 laps longer than someone else. So we're closing in on that time between now and when Dave Fuge pitted. So Brandon Edstrom definitely thinking, I wonder if he may be staying out to the end of the stage. I wasn't able to quite catch what the fuel numbers were looking like, but I don't think they can make it to the stage.
No, it's going to be close for those who do try to make it, as we see a couple more drivers considering coming down pit road. Craig Bridge comes down pit road, as well as the number 10 machine, Blair Holloman coming down. Your race leader, Mike Burnett, as well as Brandon Edstrom coming down pit road this time by.
RJ Root seems to be following Brandon Edstrom in as well. Looks like a team call here as the two Prodigy Esports drivers coming down pit road. It'll more than definitely be 2 tires and fuel here. We'll have to see who comes out on top when it comes to the lead lap battle, but for now, you should have... Who is it leading? I think it's Philip Henry is going to assume the lead here.
Yeah, so far, yes. As we see Brandon Edstrom, Kevin Zielskis has also come down pit road. As we'll have to see as they come across the line, Brandon Edstrom still holds on to the race lead. But here comes Blair Holloman. He's going to try to see if he can take over the race lead with those fresh set of tires, but does not. He cannot close the gap on Brandon Edstrom, but we'll see how this plays out here in this moment.
Yeah, that actually, Blair Holloman lost a ton of time there. The gap's up to 3.3 seconds. It was a 1.9 second gap at the time of pit stops. But RJ Root, he's lost a couple of seconds. He's falling through the field right now. All the way down in 7th now. Is there maybe a couple of adjustments there for the 7?
Could be a possibility that they made some adjustments, but still, I mean, it's very difficult to try to set adjustments up with this situation in green flag pit stops.
Yeah, Brandon Edstrom's still in the lead, and he's just looking to build the gap now. We're 10 laps from the stage, and it looks all but certain that Brandon Edstrom will be your stage winner, barring any cautions. But Blair Holloman, he has definitely lost a ton of time. He is starting to bring that gap back in. 3.2 seconds at the line there. 3.28 is the gap, but will he be able to close that much of a time difference in just 11 laps?
It's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him to catch up before the end of the stage here. He's going to have to go into stage 2 looking at trying to make some better ways to have a longer running car, or truck I should say, to be able to try to keep up with this pace.
So it looks like our fuel window is going to be 61 laps. Is about the max you're going to be able to do. So that'll be something we need to watch in stage 2. See if these guys decide to try and split that stage up, or if they're gonna see, or if we're gonna see some people try to push it as far as they can, hoping for a late race caution. These guys are running very, very clean right now. Haven't had a caution since the drop of the green flag, and it seems to be running that way, which is not something we're used to seeing at short tracks on iRacing.
No, it certainly is not, and I'm actually hoping it continues that way for the drivers here as we watch this battle here for a little further back as we watch Brandon Edstrom try to negotiate some lap traffic, and a little further on, the 78 machine of having a good run of trying to see if he can work his way up as David Dukes has a good battle with position. Raymond Root moving up to P3.
Blair Holloman definitely falling off right now. I wonder if these guys made a few adjustments and are actually a lot quicker when it comes to lap times. RJ Root with a 22.614 there compared to Brandon's 23.469, but Brandon Edstrom, he's trying to fight lap traffic right now, so that's not a competitive time, so to speak, but that gap has fallen almost a second in the last 2 laps. David Duke and RJ Root catching Brandon Edstrom time over, they're catching time hand over fist here.
They certainly are, and they are closing in as quickly as possible as they work their way out of turn number 4, and still across the line, Brandon Edstrom continues to hold strong by about 1.5 seconds and closing as Raymond Roots is closing in quickly before the end of stage 2.
Yeah, that gap has fallen almost, it was like 3.3 seconds, so that gap has fallen almost 2 seconds in the last 4 laps. Brandon Edstrom was trying to navigate the lap traffic of Rob Yost Jr., but now RJ Root's going to have to fight this as well, trying everything he can to get around Rob Yost. Brandon Edstrom, I don't think he took tires at that pit stop. I think he only may have taken fuel, whereas RJ Root took tires, because I'm looking at the times here. Brandon Edstrom's running 23.3s compared to RJ Root's 22.4s. Yeah, Brandon Edstrom did not take tires at that pit stop.
No, he did not. Looking at his time, he had a 7.2 second pit stop. That is not enough time to make a way in for fuel and tires. And so by the looks of it, that is what it's going to play out as Raymond Root, your new race leader here today.
Well, good news for Brandon Edstrom. He's not going to lose that many positions. He's going to lose first and second at least, as David Duke's looking to the inside now. But it is almost 3 seconds back to Kendall Leverin in P4, so Brandon Edstrom, he's thanking his lucky stars that it's been green for the majority of the run, as we have 3 laps in the stage, and he's only going to drop back to 3rd.
Great run right here as he's going to try to hold on to that 3rd position. Good enough time for him to set up, to make some adjustments, get some fresh tires, and really haul the mail in this stage of the race, as Rob Yost has a little issues with a couple of drivers, but is able to continue on his way. But Raymond Root picking up where he left off, looking to see if he can go 2 for 2.
He's looking to extend his championship lead over his teammate Jacob Schneider. Jacob Schneider not being here tonight, said he had other commitments, so that's going to allow RJ Root and anyone else in this championship battle to catch up some points on the 2nd place in the championship. So we'll have to see how this affects the long-term standings of the championship. But for right now, RJ Root's coming up to win the stage.
Coming out of turn number 4, the caution will come out as we see Raymond Root take home stage 1, as he will hold on and continue on his way, as we should see the caution here momentarily.
Actually, I believe it may be the end of lap 75. I apologize about that. I kind of forgot what lap we were on, but now RJ Root's going to come around and take the stage.
Oh, good. Raymond Root comes around, and he will get the stage victory. And, of course, caution will come out, and we'll reset the field and do it again. With that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have pit stop strategies for your drivers. You're watching the SSRL Truck Series League here from Richmond Raceway on GridVision.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision's coverage of the SSRL Truck Series. Taylor Burris here along with Nick Stein, our producer Austin Derbyshire, as we're about to go green flag racing once again here as we complete the second half here at Richmond Raceway. It is David Duke, Raymond Root, David Fuge Jr., Brandon Edstrom, and Philip Henry, your top five. As we see the green flag is out, we're back racing here at Richmond. Great jump right there for the driver of David Duke as he pulls away and continues to stretch out that lead a little bit. But here comes Brandon Edstrom with a fresh set of tires coming in here as drivers are trying to work their way through. He'll look to the inside of Raymond Root.
RJ Root took he took right side tires on that caution at the stage, so he is gonna be a little bit slower when it comes to lap time because he does have older left side tires. As I say that though, they're gonna try to go 3 wide coming off of turn 2. RJ Root to the outside, David Duke trying to defend the inside from Brandon Edstrom. Brandon Edstrom's gonna sit it in. They just went 3 wide at a short track. Wow.
David Duke was just absolutely noped his way out of there when they went 3 wide.
I am speechless right now. I was not expecting 3 wide as Brandon Edstrom fails his pass attempt on RJ Root there. RJ Root trying to stay in the lead, but Brandon Edstrom looks faster. He's going to get to the rear bumper of the 7 machine. Going into turn 1, Brandon Edstrom's going to look to the inside. He's going to make the move here.
Edstrom looks to the inside, side by side, clears him off of turn 2, and now shuts the door in front of Root as they head down into turn 3.
Brandon Edstrom is your new leader. RJ Root in second. Remember, RJ took 2 tires on that last restart, as I said a couple minutes ago, so he will be a little bit slower, but he may fire off later in the run. The fuel window is 60 laps. We'll have to see if these guys decide to split this final stage in half or if they're going to try to push it as long as they can. But for now, Brandon Edstrom pulling as much time as he can on RJ Root because he knows that 7 machine is going to fire off later in the run.
Fire off, and it's going to be exciting to see how this will play out as they work their way through as Edstrom pulls away by half a second and growing over Raymond Root. Meanwhile, back in third, David Duke is under immense pressure from Philip Henry and Blair Holloman as they go side by side for fourth.
This is side by side for fourth here. Philip Henry looking towards the middle. Blair Holloman's going to get in front of the 78 of David Duke. So is Philip Henry. Philip Henry is even with the 78 of David Duke heading down into turn 1. Philip Henry will clear David Duke. I do not believe David Duke hit on that last caution, count how many times I said David Duke in that sentence. I dare you.
No, well, it is correct. David Duke pitted 34 laps ago, so he is out there on some really old tires, and it's not going to be easy for him. He's going to have to hopefully either wait for some help or has to come down pit road and hope that he can try to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a checkup here as Kendall Leveren's having some struggles trying to get around the 78 of David Duke. Duke is very, very loose coming off of turn 2. Kendall Leveren's going to send it to the inside. David Duke trying to squeeze down, trying to stop any momentum for the 28 of Kendall Leveren. Kendall Leveren gets loose off of turn 2, but he will ultimately clear the 78. The 39 is right behind these two, 39 being a lap car, I believe. Nope, that's Mike Burnett. He is on the lead lap. I apologize about that, and he is going to clear the 78 of David Duke.
Yeah, that 39 machine of Mike Burnett had some issue as David Duke is coming down pit road. He realizes this is not the best situation as trouble for some more drivers as Tom Hogue is having some issues with Kevin Ziosk.
Yeah, Tom Hogue and Kevin Zosiak just not coming to terms as Tom Hogue he cleared him off of turn 4, came up a bit aggressively, maybe a bit of a self-clear and forced Kevin Zosiak to check up there. Ultimately, it allows Tom Hogue to get in front of the 37 and put the 95 of Tom Hogue into 7th position.
This is going to be critical to see how this will play out here for these drivers as we watch the 95 machine of Tom Hogue work his way up through the field. Is he trying to see if he can catch up to Mike Burnett? See if he can break into the top 5.
I've been watching the 74 Brandon Edstrom for a few laps, and he's been pulling hand over fist over RJ Root. About almost a second and a half since he passed RJ Root a few laps ago, so we'll have to see if the 7 is saving or if the 74 is pushing.
So far, looking at his lap times, he is running almost identical lap times with Raymond Root, so I have to say they're both balancing off a little bit here for the moment.
Don't look now, but Philip Henry and Blair Holloman seem to be reeling RJ Root in just a little bit here. Blair Holloman was about 0.2 quicker than RJ Root, with Philip Henry being about 1/10 quicker than the 7. But it does look like these two are pushing, so we'll have to see if these guys fall off later in the run. But for right now, we're coming up to the centennial mark of this race.
We certainly are as we close in further and further into this run. It's going to be exciting to see how this will play out as they send it down into turns 3 and 4. Brandon Edstrom continues his way through, leading the pack 1.6 seconds ahead.
Blair Holloman, he's getting up closer to the rear end of the 7 truck, and he's going to make a look to the inside here. RJ Root's going to leave the space, but he shuts it off coming towards the exit of the corner. Blair Holloman gets a little bit worse of a run compared to RJ Root, but it seems like that 10 car is a lot better on the entry. RJ Root's diamonding the corner, though, so he is always going to have the exit speed compared to anyone trying to just rip the yellow line. Blair Holloman's trying everything he can. He's going to send a dive bomb here. Almost got it to stick, but for right now, still 3rd position for that 10 truck.
He is 3rd position. He's going to hold on to it for the moment as they keep on going. You ride on board with Holloman as he's trying to find that opening he needs to get around Raymond Root as we continue racing here under the lights. Currently looking at some of the conditions at the racetrack right now. It's gotten a little bit cooler, not by much. 82 degrees, so it's dropped a degree, but the track temperature, that's the key. 85 degrees. It's picked up a lot of heat and buildup, so that's going to be a little bit more slick for the drivers, and hopefully, possibly, where drivers will have a little bit different tire strategies come into play.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot looser of race trucks than we saw to start the race. Seeing a lot more people get a little bit of a snap oversteer coming off of turns 2 and turn 4. Blair Holloman's going to get into the wall coming off of turn 2. That's going to allow Philip Henry to move up into 3rd position. Blair Holloman making a mistake there. We'll have to see if that damage, I don't know if he has any damage, but if he does, we'll have to see if that hurts him at all. But for right now, he's slowing up enough to allow Kendall Leveren to maybe make a look at trying to get around him up into 4th position.
As they work their way around the circuit, keep an eye on how this will play out for your drivers as they work their way through. Here comes the 28 of Kendall Leveren, who is now trying to see if he can get his way up into the 4th position. And it's got a lot of work to do.
Still watching this gap between the 2 leaders, but we have our eye on this battle right here. Kendall Leveren, he got up to the rear bumper of the 10 truck, but it seems to have stagnated a little bit. Further back, this is Kevin Zosiak and Tom Hogue side by side. We saw these guys have a little bit of beef with each other a few laps ago, but Kevin Zosiak to the inside of the 95 of Tom Hogue. He's going to send it down into the corner here. Tom Hogue, though, he's going to clear the 37 and make a look at the 39 in front of him.
He's going to do his best as they work their way around the circuit. Great drive here as they work off corner exit. And now as they work their way through, Edstrom holding strong. That 37 machine, though, of Kevin Zosiak is really trying to see if he can get his way back on the lead lap.
Mike Burnett, he's seeing these two. They were both on the lead lap there, but Mike Burnett is seeing these two in his mirror, and I bet you money he is saying, please, guys, settle your beef when I'm not around you guys, because we saw how heated these guys got when it came that close, and I have no idea if these guys don't like each other, but they seem to be racing very, very hard right now.
They are racing very hard right now, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this will play out for your competitors here as they work their way out of the corner heading into turn 3 and 4. Mike Burnett, though, has to be given the Hard Charger Award for all the racing he has done so far tonight.
RJ Root's another contender. He started 13th in this race, and he's up into 2nd, but for right now, just looks like everyone's kind of single filed out and just trying to ride a little bit, get a little bit closer to being able to make it on fuel. Looks like most everyone is deciding to kind of run it as long as they can as compared to trying to split the stage in half and making sure you can make it on fuel.
As we have one driver coming down pit road, that's David Fuge Jr., the Concord native. He pits from his 10th position. That will put him one lap down very quickly, and we'll see how this will play out for drivers here in this run to see what he can accomplish.
This may be the catalyst to start bringing some of your leaders down. They see Dave Fuge pitting, and we're within 45 laps to go, so you can make it on fuel. It's just a matter if you can make the tires last that long. And I said it earlier, RJ Root, he fell off to start the run, but he's already pulling Brandon Edstrom back in as the gap is almost, it is down to 1.1 seconds here, 1.143 at the line. So RJ Root, he's pulled in about almost a half a second on Brandon Edstrom in the last, I would say, 10 laps.
How about this for something exciting here for you, Nick? Last time by, they ran identical lap times, 23.016.
Talk about consistency. I mean, I've had times where I've run as they were close again there, less than 300ths of a second. RJ Root almost running the exact same time for the second lap in a row. He was only 2,000ths of a second slower that time by.
Certainly are, as we're going to keep their way through. They are swapping lap time after lap time here. These two are the class of the field here tonight.
Yeah, we said it was Brandon Edstrom and Blair Holloman earlier, but now it's changed to Brandon Edstrom and Raymond Root, the two Prodigy Esports drivers. These two are some of the best people I know. I know both of these guys personally, and they're some of my best friends, so we'll have to see how these two duke it out to finish this race.
They certainly are going to try to duke it out and put on a stellar show for performance here tonight as they come off of turn number 4. It is now closing in 110 laps in the board, 40 laps to go. The gap separated by 0.7 of a second and closing.
Looks like Brandon Edstrom got a little bit high into turn 2 there. That's going to allow RJ Root to gain a couple of tenths there. Gap is now below 0.8 of a second. See another car on the bottom pitting there, but here comes Dave Fuge Jr. trying to unlap himself the hard way. Set on pit road. That is Craig Bridge in the 94 machine. He's going to go another couple of laps down trying to get some fresh tires onto his machine, but right now, look at this. I mean, we said it earlier in the race, but look at the difference. It's a lot smaller of a difference now than it was at lap 55, and look at this. Dave Fuge is just, he's blowing by these guys like they're standing still right now.
They certainly are, and that's going to be really exciting to see how this will play off for these drivers who are now on fresher tires. But the problem is, do they have enough time to get back around and try to catch your race leaders before they come down for their pit stop?
Well, you want to know something funny? You were talking about how Brandon Edstrom and RJ Root ran identical lap times a couple laps ago. Well, they just ran a lap that was within 1,000th of each other.
You're talking about some incredible talent between the two of them, as we'll see how this will play out between the two drivers. Root now trying to gain back up, as we saw Edstrom lose a little bit of time since he had to give way for the lap car of Robert Yost Jr.
Yeah, these guys are on about, give or take, lap 40, if I'm doing my math right now. Excuse me, they're coming up to lap 30 of this run. So about halfway through this field run, they will not be able to make it on fuel, as the fuel window is about 58 to 60 laps, and they're halfway through that fuel run with 35 to go. So they're going to be 5 laps short here. Or excuse me, 45 to go.
45
Nope, I
laps.
said it right the first time. It's 35.
We apologize for our math skills. We aren't that good in math here at Grid Vision, but hey, we make it work, we make it stick, and hopefully we won't have to do math again for the rest of tonight's action. As the field works their way down the back straightaway, here comes Raymond Root with a big head of steam. He wants to try and take charge and lead tonight.
RJ Root, he was on, remember, he took 2 tires at the last caution on the stage. I'm surprised he's handling so well. Usually 2 tires will fall off after a while, but for now, RJ Root, he's getting up to the rear bumper of the 74, Brandon Edstrom. Brandon Edstrom's trying everything he can to keep in front of the 7. As Philip Henry's coming down pit road, that was a front runner, so we'll have to see if that brings the 2 leaders down. But for now, Brandon Edstrom still in front of RJ Root.
RJ Root putting on a stellar drive here, looking to continue his run as Root now tries to look to the inside, not close enough to make anything happen, tries to build up some momentum down the back straightaway, ready to try to send it into turn 3.
Brandon Edstrom pulling just a little bit coming off of turn 2, but RJ Root a lot better through turns 3 and 4. That's where the 7 makes up his time. Brandon Edstrom 23.221 there compared to RJ Root's 23.173. So RJ Root only about about a half a tenth faster a lap compared to Brandon Edstrom, but it's adding up as RJ Root's now getting closer and closer to the rear bumper of the 74. Brandon Edstrom trying to show his steel here, staying in front of the 7, not really making any mistakes. That is RJ Root's racing style. He's going to sit behind you and pester you until you make a mistake. So good on Brandon showing his steel, not really giving in to RJ's pressure.
He is holding strong here now as Root's going to try a different line, and here comes Edstrom down pit road. He'll be the first one to blink.
Tom Hogue right in front of him coming down pit road. We'll have to see if that drags RJ Root here on the next lap, but for now, RJ Root goes up into the lead.
We see here a couple of drivers struggling to try to come down pit road and avoiding other drivers who are coming down pit road, as a couple of more drivers such as the looks like Tom Hogue is coming down pit road, as well as Kendall Levrin. And, of course, now Bob Hogue coming down pit road. So everyone's coming down to serve their third and final stop of the race.
Your leader, RJ Root's on pit road as well. He came down exactly 1 lap after his teammate and rival in this race, Brandon Edstrom, did. We'll see what kind of time Brandon Edstrom can pull, as RJ Root just got into his pit stall, and Brandon Edstrom's going into turn 3 now. This is effectively going to be the battle for the lead here. Brandon Edstrom coming off of turn 4. RJ Root's already rolling. This is going to be very, very close. It looks like for now, RJ Root's going to clear Brandon Edstrom by a couple of tenths. Maybe not, as we have a caution on the track.
Oh, and right there, it gives the opening that Blair Holloman and Mike Burnett need. And the question is going to be, it looks like the 95 of Tom Hogue had an issue off turn 4.
And I tell you what, Brandon Edstrom's going to be seething in that driver's cockpit, because he was going to clear RJ Root into turn 3. As see replay here, Tom Hogue spinning off of turn 4, which is all too common here.
It really is. That's besides turn 2, turn 4. You always are kind of be careful of what could happen off turn 4, as we know chaos could ensue.
Oh man, that is going to put a wrench into things here. So let me ask you, have you ever heard of something called the chaos theory?
I have heard of the chaos theory.
Well, you should know that because I used to commentate with Brandon Edstrom all the time, and whenever we started talking about chaos theory, the race just became absolutely wild. And chaos theory, it's definitely starting to rear its ugly head here. Just over 20 laps to go, or just under 20 laps to go, excuse me, and I get the feeling things are about to get very, very wild here.
Well, hopefully not. But with that, while they're under caution, let's take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we will bring you hopefully the conclusion of tonight's action at Richmond Raceway for the SSRL Truck Series live on.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision's coverage of the SSRL Truck Series live from Richmond Raceway. It is the waning moments of this event, and the green flag is about to come out. It is Holloman, Root, and Burnett leading them to the green flag, and we're racing as lap traffics are working their way through to catch back up, and they got a big head of steam coming their way as the 74 of Brandon Edstrom's already up to P4 and hunting down your race leaders as they come off of turn 2. Holloman leads the charge with 23 to go.
Blair Holloman defending to the inside there. That's going to allow RJ Root to get to the outside. He's going to pinch him down off the corner, not allow him to get that good of a run, but Blair Holloman staying where he is compared to RJ Root. RJ Root's going to dive into the inside, looking behind him. Brandon Edstrom looks to the inside of the 39 of Mike Burnett. For now, though, in front of them, Blair Holloman gets clear of RJ Root, but he blocks the inside, and RJ Root does a little switchback. He's going to be back to the outside of Blair Holloman. Coming off of turn 4, RJ Root still trying everything he can to get around Blair Holloman.
Holloman holds strong on the inside lane. Root tries to get that outside lane going. We haven't really seen any passes on the outside. Crossover coming to play as, trouble for Holloman and Root. They both get loose. Here comes Brandon Edstrom with a big run down to the inside. He gets up to P2.
That looks like a racing deal between RJ Root and Blair Holloman. Blair Holloman getting loose off of turn 2 there, and RJ Root just not expecting the checkup, and they made a little bit of contact. RJ Root is going to have, that is probably going to be in the eyes of race control after this race, but for now they're going to let him race it out as Blair Holloman's going to spin off of turn 2 and he's going to hit the inside wall very hard.
He saved it, didn't touch the inside wall. He did.
Like he hit it on my, wow. I just looked back at that. It looked like he hit it on my screen. Interesting.
We coming up here as we take a look at the replay of what happened as Holloman hold it on for deal or life here as we watch here. Holloman sends it into the middle of turns 1 and 2. Gets a little bit too much gas on the throttle, and there's a contact between him and Root. As Root was able to continue on, Holloman just falls back quite a ways and then has to recover. And then we'll take a look, I believe, at the second incident that happened between him and Burnett. As Holloman sends it in deep, gets almost contact with Burnett, and then same thing, just washes up the track, makes that contact. And just hold on there, Holloman, and does not make any contact with that inside pit wall.
That wall was coming up quickly, though. Wow. Nice save.
Very nice save indeed.
Back to live action. Still keeping an eye on this lead battle as Mike Burnett, he's looking to throw a wrench into things now as he's on the rear end of the 74 of Brandon Edstrom right now. He was looking to make a move going into turn 1 last time by. Looking like he's going to try to make a move again. Shows his nose to the inside, but Brandon Edstrom covers off the move. For now, RJ Root still out to a 0.3 of a second lead.
And last time by, Mike Burnett was the fastest driver on the track inside the top 3, so he is going to show some space, but here comes Holloman. He was 0.2 faster than your top 3, so he is going to be on the charge as Burnett looks to the inside, side by side, battle for second. Burnett sends it deep. Can he hold on to it? Edstrom holds strong on the outside as they come out of 2.
Coming off of turn 2, Brandon Edstrom, he's going to get the momentum off the top side. But Mike Burnett's going to send it down to the inside. Brandon Edstrom on the white line between the first and second lines. Brandon Edstrom is going to get the run coming off of turn 4. Mike Burnett's going to look to the inside, but it looks like Brandon Edstrom will keep the position for now, unless Mike Burnett gets another really good run through 1 and 2, which he does. They're going to be even coming off of turn 2, but here comes Blair Holloman into this battle. Will he try to make it 3 wide on these guys? But for right now, he's looking like he's going to sit here with a bucket of popcorn and watch these two fight it out. Is this going to be a big wreck off of 4?
Trouble between second and third. Edstrom as well as Burnett got together as, of course, race official who looked through, and Blair Holloman had the Red Sea parted for him.
Wow. Gotta look at this replay here. Brandon Edstrom and Mike Burnett off of turn 2 here. This happens off of turn 4. From what I saw, it looked like the 39 may have came up, but we'll have to see here. It's coming off the corner. Yeah, the 39 of Burnett comes up, and Brandon Edstrom just a bystander in that incident. As Blair Holloman, as you said, Red Sea's parting for him. I'd like to get an onboard camera of that.
That's going to be exciting to watch here. We'll try to get another. As our producer is letting us know, you know what's coming. You should know better. Hey,
I should know better.
Let's take a look and see what happens. Here we go. Out of 4. And right there's the contact, and the seas parted for the driver, of course.
Send that into iRacing Top 10. That'll make it.
Absolutely astounding.
Wow. That is just a product of hard racing there between the 74 and the 39 of Mike Burnett. Unfortunately, that may end the night for both drivers. Actually, no, Brandon Edstrom's back out on track. It doesn't look like he had much damage. His truck's completely clean right now from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, looking through right now and just making sure of a couple things. No fast repairs, of course, so he did not use a fast repair for this series. And it looks like from the contact wasn't too much of damage compared to what, of course, poor Mike Burnett, who is definitely going to get the hard charger. There's some of the damage you see right there to the nose of the 74 Brandon Edstrom.
Just tough break there, but you already know Brandon Edstrom's going to be coming back through the field as quickly as possible. Just seems like trouble seems to find that 74 truck. He's been involved in a ton of wrecks so far. Of course, he ended up upside down on the white flag lap at Daytona. And of course, at Charlotte, he was involved in a couple of different wrecks that weren't necessarily his fault. And then now he just another product of hard racing between that 74 and someone else. And it ends up with a couple of wrecked race trucks. We'll have to see if he comes back up through the field. For now, RJ Root is your leader with Blair Holloman in second.
Going to be interesting to see how this will play out. We should be getting the 1 to go signal next time by for our drivers, putting us just about, I'd say close to 7, maybe 8 laps left to go in the race.
To see how this plays out, I'm genuinely interested. As I said it earlier, Chaos Theory is showing its ugly head already. Will this have a tail to play in how this race ends? We will have to see. But for now, RJ Root, the lucky Blair Holloman, the lucky bystander in that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see if the 10 car has used all of his luck for this race. But for now, he's sitting in second position. He's going to be starting on the inside here for this restart.
As they work their way through, they're lined up double file. It's going to be 8 laps to go. Field works their way to catch up to the field here, and we're going to see how this will play out. Of course, let's make a couple of picks right quick. My driver I'm watching here is going to have to be Blair Holloman in that number 10 machine. He showed a lot of pace, a lot of speed right there. I think he can take the fight to Raymond Root.
You know what? I'm going to pick the truck to his outside, RJ Root. I mean, we've seen it. He's come up through the field tonight. He's shown a lot of pace, and RJ Root, he actually, as I'll finish this later, as we're coming up to the green flag.
As our producer is taking the 11 of David Fuge Jr. at the big jump right there for Raymond Root. He checks out on the field as Holloman now tries to hunt back down, but here comes Dave Fuge Jr. as he is really showing some speed here off of turn 2.
He's going to look to the inside here, the 10 car of Blair Holloman. He's not going to have the move as Blair Holloman's going to clear the inside, but here comes Kendall Leverett. He's going to poke a nose to the inside of the 11 of Dave Fuge. There's a little bit of contact, and Dave Fuge Jr. is going to go spinning to the inside.
It's off the racing groove. No caution is going to keep it clean and green for the moment as we see Raymond Root continuing to hold the race lead for the time being as they head down the back straightaway.
Oh, Brandon Edstrom spinning, but they're all going to save it. They wanted to go 3 wide for a moment coming off of turn 2 between David Duke, Kendall Leverett, and Philip Henry. For right now, Philip Henry's going to poke a nose to the middle, but he's going to back out of it going into turn 1. Kendall Leverett and David Duke still side by side here, but David Duke is going to clear the 28 as RJ Root, he's pulling out. He's pulled out about a half-second lead over Blair Holloman. But watch for Blair Holloman to come back through as he has shown a little bit of speed on the longer run as they come to 5 to go.
5 laps to go as they head off. Here comes Holloman. He's trying to close the gap on Raymond Root. Not able to make it work this time around as they head down the back straightaway. Here comes David Duke with a big head of steam. It's trouble for Philip Henry. He hits the wall off turn 2.
David Duke trying everything he can to get up to the rear bumper of the 10 of Blair Holloman. David Duke, he has the speed right now, but will he? It's a tale as old as time. It is one thing to catch a car. It's a whole different ball game to pass them. We'll have to see if David Duke can try something. Philip Henry, though, he's trying to look to the inside here. David Duke sends it deep into the corner. Philip Henry has to check up a little bit as he runs a bit of a higher line. He's going to get the run coming off of turn number 4. It's David Duke, he's going to look to try and make a move to the inside. Philip Henry's going to go up by the wall. He's going to be running the middle lane in 1 and 2.
Or they come off of turn number 2. Trouble for Holloman. Can he save it? Not quite. They're still battling, wrecking around Holloman. As Holloman does not save it, and as the yellow comes out with 2 laps to go.
That is something that a 7 truck of RJ Root did not want to see. He did not want a caution there. He had this race won. He had almost a 2-second gap over Kendall Leverett there. He had this race won, but that is only going to add to the chaos here as they come back behind the pace car with 2 laps to go, and it's going to be a green-white checkered here.
This is going to be interesting to see how this, if we take a look at the replay, it looks like Holloman just had to check up a little bit and then unfortunately could not save the truck.
Yeah, just that's another product of hard racing there. Of course, it's going to be the first of 3 green-white checkered attempts should we need them. And I would only expect things to get even crazier here as you and I both know we've had multiple experiences with green-white checkers, and things can get absolutely wild, and I expect nothing less from these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be exhilarating. It's going to be not fun for some of these drivers here as we will have our first attempt of a green-white checkered.
Just waiting here for this race to get back green. We've been so spoiled by the racing that we're almost out of things to talk about here. Just under caution, just waiting for the race to get back. Am I the only one that has that feeling right now?
No, I think we're both ready for this race to get to it. And of course, this has been a very exciting race for the most part. First half was pretty much clean and green. Second half, we've had our fair share of excitement, exhilarating issues as well for some drivers who are going to be looking back and wondering what went wrong.
Yeah, things, man, just that's short track racing for you. I know it's kind of a Denny Hamlin-esque quote there. That's just short track racing, and things are gonna happen. And we have some people having a little bit of beef right now, but for right now, it seems like everyone's kind of figuring their stuff out, getting ready for this green-white checkered here. And you still sitting on that pick of who was it? It was the 10 of Blair Holloman, correct?
I'll stick with it still. Even though he's 11th, he's got a long way to go. But you know what? We still got 2 more attempts if need be.
Well, I'm sticking with my pick of the 7 truck of Raymond Root. How about our producer? You still sticking with the 11? Oh, man. I don't think we can say what he said over the air, but
no, we can't.
just know that he's not too happy about how his pick's doing right now. Looks like, though, a lot of people... Actually, we're still 2 to go. I thought this was Choose going for a second. I thought a lot of people were getting ready to take the top here, but... kind of just riding here. Everyone getting ready for this restart here, because you and I both know this is going to be absolutely wild.
It is. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be intense as we will hopefully get the 2-to-go signal or 1-to-go signal time by for our drivers. Get this situation all set up, but RJ Root definitely the fan favorite here tonight to see if he can take home another win.
Yeah, this will be his second win on the season. I believe he won. Yeah, he did win last week at Charlotte, and he put on a dominating display in the second stage. Didn't really give anyone a chance. Of course, with the second place at Daytona, he's having a very hot start to the season. We'll see if he can keep that momentum up, but RJ Root taking the outside with the 78 and David Duke taking the inside. We'll have to see. RJ Root has been able to get some amazing jumps on that outside going into turn 1, but we'll have to see if David Duke can keep up with him on the inside and maybe make a move for the lead here.
Got to wait and see and find out here as they work their way off turn 2. Lights are out as Benny the pace car driver, a little bit of quiet night for him. Normally is at these kind of races on both the official capacity and most league races, is the one who leads the most laps, but not tonight. He's had a pretty easy job tonight. As we see Barney the flagman wave the green flag. First attempt of a green-white checkered, and Raymond Root has checked out on the field as he leads them into turn 1.
We saw what happened last time. He got out to that big lead, but everyone closed in mighty quickly. Second place right now, David Duke and Kendall Leverett side by side. They're going to make a little bit of contact, and David Duke is going to go sliding. Will he save it? He somehow manages to save that as Kevin Zosiak almost makes some contact with the 28 of Kendall Leverett. Side by side for third position, Philip Henry and Kevin Zosiak into turn 1.
The white flag is out, presented by Reaper Speed Lab as they head down into turns number 1 and 2 for the final time. Raymond Root has sailed here as he continues to pull away. Kendall Leverett is now trying to hold strong for second, but out of turn number 4, Raymond Root goes back to back for the second time of the season as he will win at Richmond.
Not as wild as we thought for a finish at Richmond with a green-white checkered, but still plenty of action there. We saw a ton of side-by-side, and we saw David Duke almost go spinning coming off of turn 2 on the white flag lap, but he was able to save it, and he salvaged a P7 out of it.
Great run right there as drivers are celebrating, and a little bit of a push right there from the 74 of Brandon Edstrom as the two teammates celebrate the victory here for the team.
Get everyone ready for our post-race show real quick. Give me 1 second.
And as while we do that, we'll go ahead and give you the quick rundown of the full results of tonight's action as we see Raymond Root burn it down here at Richmond. Raymond Root, of course, your race winner by 0.6 of a second over Kendall Leverett, with Philip Henry third, Brandon Browning in fourth, Kevin Zosiak in fifth position with David Fuge Jr. in sixth, David Duke in seventh, Brandon Edstrom returns to eighth position with Bob Hogue in ninth, Blair Holloman in 10th with Tom Hogue in 11th position. He's the first car 1 lap down. Robert Yost Jr. comes home 12th with Craig Bridge in 13th. Mike Burnett, hard charger, but unfortunately got caught up in a late race incident. He'll come home 14th. Keith Hackney comes home 15th. Bobby Forbes in 16th. Of course, Mike, Keith, and Bobby did not finish the race. With that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll have interviews with your top 3. As don't go anywhere, you're watching the SSRL Truck Series from Richmond on Grid Vision. Welcome back to Welcome back to the Grid Vision post-race show, as we are here to talk with your top three. And joining us here is, of course, none other than Mr. Henry, who comes home with a third position, the Legacy Academy driver in his Chevrolet. And, of course, we got to ask, how was your night, Philip? I mean, you had a pretty up and down mid-pack, but was able to sneak one in to get a top three finish.
Yeah, that was interesting to say the least. I had a ton of fun. Richmond is one of my worst tracks ever, so when I saw myself in third going into that final stage, especially going into like the pit cycle area, or portion, I was really, had my hopes up. But yeah, Richmond is my worst track ever, and so to come away with third, I consider this a win.
It certainly is. And, of course, a lot of great racing still to come for the rest of the season. Early on for you, of course, in this championship, but definitely a good points night for you.
Yes, it definitely is. I've had two terrible races to start the season off, and this is by far a big pickup and maybe some momentum going forward into the next couple races. So this was by far, I did not think I would get any momentum coming out of here. I was expecting another 12th place finish, and who knew, third late just fell in my lap. So I will take it and run with it.
Well, before we let you go, Philip, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to or a thank you to?
Just thank you to Legacy Academy and all those guys that helped put in all the work over on the Cup side for me. Yeah, to all the people watching, shout out to y'all. Hopefully we'll put on a good show this tonight, and hopefully we'll put on another good show next week.
That is Philip Henry coming home in P3, as Nick Stein has caught up with our second place driver, Kendall Leverin, who joins us now.
Well, Kendall Leverin, you started 8th place tonight, and you were running in the top 5 for the majority of the night. Ended up P2 after a wild final 15 laps. Talk us through how kind of the mindset you had coming towards the end of this race with how wild it got.
Well, my mindset, I was hoping to get a good qualifying lap, but I didn't pay attention that it was a one-lap qualifying lap, so that's why I was in 8th place at the start of the race. Going in, I just went with try to adjust my brake bias to where I can actually have the car rotate for me going into the corners, because I do love this track. Because if it went green all the way, I might have caught the leaders, because I know I was inching closer and closer before we went to the pit stop cycle and all that. But at the end of the race, whenever it got to a green, white, checkered, I knew it was going to be hectic. So, and I had old tires. I decided to go right behind Raymond just to get a good jump start. Coming out of 2, I don't know what happened between me and Dave. I just tried to stay off against the wall. I think the arrow kind of caught me and him together, and he got a little wobbly or whatever. And on the last lap, I just did whatever I can to try to hold off Phil to clinch P2, because I knew I wasn't going to catch Raymond after that restart.
Yeah, RJ was one of the faster guys of the night, and heading throughout the rest of the season, how are you feeling? We saw you've had a couple of good finishes so far to start the season. Are you looking to keep this momentum up, or is it kind of stay where you are right now?
Honestly, I'm just going to take it as a positive and keep the momentum going as best I can, and hope nothing bad happens later into the season. But next week, Talladega is going to be a wild card, kind of like Daytona. So it's just, you got to play your cards right and hope I don't get caught up in a wreck, especially at the end, kind of like what happened at Daytona, because I thought I made it through, but I got clipped right at the last second and I couldn't finish the race due to an engine blown. But just hope I can make it to the end of Talladega, try to approach it the same way I did at Daytona. Just stay with the pack, just let people race themselves. When it's time to go, it's time to move forward. So that's what I'm planning on going for next week. But the rest of the season, keep doing what I'm doing now.
Well, congratulations on the P2 tonight. Before we let you go, is there anyone you got to thank? Anyone who gets it, or who helps you get it done throughout the week?
Shout out to Team Watson Racing Setups, man. They helped me get better at driving these cars and trucks and all that, especially the NASCAR side. even though this is a fixed setup racing, but they do help people get better at driving at different vehicles and stuff like that, road, dirt, all that. Shout out to Warrior Racing, good group of guys I race with outside this league, and shout out to you guys. And oh yeah, y'all boss, is he y'all boss, Brian Britt, or no?
Not 100% sure.
I didn't know if he was. I know he was part owner, so I didn't know exactly. But shout out to him, and you guys that actually put the broadcast up, man, because he's I know he's part owner of Team Watson, so I want to give him a big shout out as well, man, since he's part teamed with y'all.
Well, congratulations on the P2 tonight, Kendall. We hope to see you next week at Talladega, and good luck throughout the rest of the season.
You too, Mud.
And of course, joining us now is your race winner. It is RJ Root. RJ, I mean, Virginia native, a little bit of a home track for you here tonight. Talk about how you feel about this win and close calls you had to deal with to get to this win.
Yeah, I love Richmond, except for in the Cup car. Like, this is one of my favorite tracks because of how many different entries you can take into the corner, but still have the same drive off. It was a lot of fun driving through the field. I did not expect to run as well as I did. I figured I was going to be about a top 5 car, but I didn't think that I was going to have a race winning car. Took the wrong, well, not the wrong pit cycle, but didn't go to the original plan and ended up taking tires into the first green flag stop, and which got me the stage win, but set me back a set of tires, which is not what I'm used to, and took 2 tires for the rest of the race. So that those left sides have been on the truck since like lap 60, I think.
That's impressive. Be able to go that long without changing those tires here. And of course, everyone here we talked to already talked about the wild card of Talladega, but what can we expect and for you competing for the rest of the season as far as going out there to go and get a championship?
Well, I mean, right now we're sitting amazing. I mean, a second and 2 wins, that's kind of a big deal, especially in this points format with no playoffs or anything. It's going to be interesting. I know at Talladega, Brandon's really quick. Brandon and I work together really well. Hopefully we'll have Jacob back next week, and we can all 3 work together and hopefully do what we did at Daytona, except not get turned down the backstretch.
That is always the key right there, I have to say. Well, before we let you go, Raymond, anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
I really got to thank Prodigy. I really got to thank Alex and Brandon. Brandon didn't get the finish that he deserved tonight, but I got to thank Nami, No Kid Hungry. I feel really bad because I'm not in my actual team paint. Just everybody that has supported me.
That is, of course, your race winner, RJ Root, taking home the victory here tonight. Nick, a lot of great racing we saw here tonight, but of course the next race, Talladega Superspeedway. An unpredictable track that will provide some unpredictable racing and maybe an unpredictable winner.
Yeah, Talladega, one of NASCAR's most feared tracks, but if you can come out and get over the fear that Talladega brings and just kind of overcome all the odds that come with a plate track, and you can come out with a win, you'll be in a very good place in the championship. And RJ Root definitely pulling a ton of points there over second place Jacob Snyder, who of course was not here tonight. So just thoughts heading into the next race and over this race. It was your typical short track race tonight. We saw a ton of clean racing, which, I mean, I guess that wouldn't be considered typical when it comes to iRacing, but at the end we saw that chaos that we know and love when it comes to short tracks. So I would say more of an off the wall kind of short track racing compared to what we were expecting tonight.
Certainly is, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Of course, this weekend, if you want to have fun in the virtual Sin City, we got a lot of coverage at Las Vegas. Of course, tomorrow night, the NASCAR iRacing Series heads to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. See who is able to work their way and come out the overall NASCAR iRacing Series champion. Of course, later on Sunday, starting at 12:30 p.m., it's the Global Sim Racing Truck Series heads to Las Vegas. And then, of course, the RGR Racing Series will conclude our action of coverage this week at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. But with that, though, it's time we say goodnight. Of course, for Justin Levine and Brian Britt, for my co-host tonight, Nick Stein, and, of course, our producer, Austin Derbyshire, I'm Taylor Burris. Thank you for tuning in to the SSRL Truck Series from Richmond on Grid Vision.